Welcome to Scott Bryson Beyond the Service. Tonight we're going to do a little bit more storytelling, but don't worry, we have the interviews teed up and they're going to be back online very soon. Got some really cool guests lined up. I'm excited to get that out to the general public. But anyway, in keeping with the theme of doing some behind the scenes storytelling or whatever, 2008 was at the Beijing Olympics. President Bush was on his way out of office. It was a great, first of all, that week was amazing because I don't know where I started. I think we started in London. I don't remember, but in like a week's time, I was in London, England, Paris, France, Berlin, Rome, wrapped up in Beijing. So that was kind of a whirlwind. It's probably the coolest week I've ever had on the job, to hit all those countries literally in less than 7 days. But anyway, we got to mountain bike. We got to mountain bike on the Olympic course, which we mostly pushed. I think I've told that story before because it was so hard. And I've never been so glad to not do something. That looked horrible. But we did some of it. We couldn't do all of it. It was next level. And so Bush was a little miffed about that because he's a very competitive guy. And it was very anticlimactic because it was so flipping hard that we had to do the easy parts. And he was not a happy camper. So I kind of was, but he wasn't. Anyway, I digress. We go to the basketball arena later in that. I don't know. We must have been there for a few days. I can't remember. It's 2008. But we went to the basketball arena to watch the men's USA team play basketball. And I was leading on the way around. So we went through the tunnel to go see Coach K and the boys. And I was on point. And so, of course, we got there and met them and smoking and joking for a minute. And then you turn around and come back the other way. I was trail, right? So I had led on the way over. Now I was trailing on the way back. So I was the last man. Kind of watching the six and all that good stuff. Anyway, get back around to the doors. You know, like any stadium, you double doors, big doors or whatever, and you go in to sit down. He wasn't sitting in a box or anything. He was just kind of sitting in a row, but it wasn't super crowded. So we were going to post up around him, and everybody had been magged and all that stuff. But the Chinese, if you don't know, man, they don't play nice in the sandbox, and there's so many of them. I was working the leader of the free world, and they shut the door. Like I got cut off. It was like literally the gate closed. And so most of everybody got in. There was a couple of us that got shut out, and it felt weird. And then they made like a human wall. And some of they were smaller guys, but they weren't all small. And there was one guy that was a big guy, was my size. And well, they're just mean mugging, you know. It was kind of weird. Yeah, Barbara and Jen, I think Jenna was there. I know Barbara was there. But her detail leader had also gotten caught up because they didn't know who she was. And so he was trying to get through, and they were manhandling him. They're kind of manhandling her. I'm like, dude, it's the president's daughter. That's bull crap. And anyway, I know that we got shut out, and then eventually the doors opened, and we got through. It was an S show. So we get through, but when I say get through, they open the doors, and it's still like a CF, man. It's just bad. And Billy Doyle, I think it was, his eyes were about that big, man. He looked like he was scared to death. And Barbara, they were like getting manhandled. And then the Secretary of the Treasury was there. I think it was Paulson. He's kind of a tall guy, and they were getting manhandled. And I went to help, and my shift leader grabbed my arm and said, "Not your fight," because I'm working the man. And he was right. So, but it's hard to watch people getting messed with. And eventually, I had enough, and Glenn, the boss, wasn't looking. And when I saw Billy and Barbara getting messed with, I'd had enough. They weren't far away, but I took to like two gigantic steps, you know, like, I don't know, just like, I didn't run because it was close, but I was like two big gigantic steps. And I hit these two dudes that were kind of manhandling the detail leader and Barbara. And I hit them as hard as I could, like a hockey check, I guess you would say, just kind of my shoulder and my forearm and stuff. Wham! I hit them pretty good. And they went flying off of them, and Billy and Barbara got through. Of course, she didn't know who I was, but the look on her face looked relieved, and Billy was then smiling like a Cheshire cat. He was like, "Thanks, man." And they got through. And then what I was doing is when I hit them, they kind of stunned them, and to get them off, I grabbed them, and one guy was about my size, so I just reached out to his throat, and the other guy was shorter, so I reached down, and I was literally squeezing them right here. Not as hard as I could, but pretty hard. And the big guy, the one that looked really mean, he looked scared to death. His eyes got big too. I guess I startled him because we were way outnumbered. And the little short dude, man, that joker snap kicked me right in the family jewels. And I thought I was going to pass out. And I let go of him, obviously, and I swallowed it, and it hurt so bad because he got me on my leg and it slid up. So it was that delayed, gratification, if you know what I'm saying. And I was like, ugh. And I broke out into a cold sweat. You know how like when you get a stomach ache or you're sick and you just get a cold sweat all of a sudden? That's what it was. I got this sick feeling in my stomach. I broke out into a cold sweat. Of course, I'm wearing a suit and a tie and all that crap. I'm hot. And I sort of wobbled over to my shift leader and stood there like trying to gather myself. And he said, well, the good news is we know you can take a punch. And I was like, I wanted to kill that guy. Had we been on our turf, I would have probably gotten myself in a little trouble because I wouldn't have let it go. But I was on their turf and severely outnumbered, and he did get me pretty good. So that's just a little inside baseball for you guys to know that things don't always go as planned. The best laid plan, like Mike Tyson says, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth or the gonads.